Welcome to the Drip Warriors YouTube channel. My name is Kryptonite, and I'm here with the other warriors, your hot and spicy crypto Cuban, and your
What up? What
favorite
up?
uncle, Uncle Rick. What's happening?
Yeah, we
Let's go,
excited.
guys.
We
Excited
ready.
to be here. Premiere episode number 1.
Let's get to it. This is going to be fun. Most people didn't realize that there were still warriors behind the scene working pretty hard to really resurrect Drip. And you've got 3 representatives here. It's going to be fun.
Hit us with that intro.
Let's hear from Mike, the crypto Cuban.
What up, guys? Very excited to be here. I am Mike Crypto Cuban, and I've been a crypto enthusiast since 2018. I've been into Drip since November 2021, and it's been quite a ride since then. I've always maintained a special place in my heart for Drip, and this is why I worked really hard to co-found the Drip Warriors, which is a group focused on contributing and adding value to the Drip ecosystem. Once Forex announced that the faucet was being retired, I knew it was time for the Drip Warriors to take control. At this same time, I felt something awaken in me, a calling to take on a challenge to lead development on a unique utility for Drip. As an avid gamer, I immediately brainstormed some fun bullish game theory, which eventually evolved into developing the concept for the Drip Marble Run. Galactic Surfer is the creator of Alien Games, which has partnered with me to bring this to life. And this game aims to bring a fun, exciting utility to Drip, which is using Drip to win BNB, but more alpha on that towards the end of our show. What about you, Uncle Rick?
Dude, man, I love it. I'm fired up. You know, I got into crypto end of 2018, hopped into DeFi beginning of 2022, found out about Drip, hopped on that Drip train, rode it all the way down until we crashed and burned at a little over a penny. I haven't seen prices go up. I haven't experienced it like you guys have experienced the highs and lows. It's just been one straight track down. But guess what? I've never jumped off this train. I never will jump off this train. I love Drip. I'm here. It's a war against everybody who said we were dead, everybody who's fudded Drip for the last year. Like we've turned everything around, not only in our Drip Warriors group, but the community. And I've said this many times in the chats. Drip's future has never been brighter, and I'm so freaking fired up for this.
First, you said people are fighting Drip. I didn't realize that was happening. Is that a thing?
Where? Who?
What do we got, KK?
Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Kryptonite. I also go by the name of Drip to Wealth, and Drip to Wealth is really supporting people taking very small steps to financial freedom using cryptocurrency, the wave of the future. But much like you guys, I got into Drip on the way up and I rode it all the way down. And it hurt. It stung. It really, really did because I believe wholeheartedly in the concept, the team, the developer, and it just didn't work out the way that we expected. But the good news is there's a second chapter, and I want to be a part of it in a major way because there's so much in the pipeline that people should be exciting. And we talked about this off camera and behind the scenes that the folks that are being introduced to Drip in this entire ecosystem today, tomorrow, and in the next coming weeks or so, this is a massive opportunity to buy Drip under a nickel. Most of us bought it when it was in the dollars. We're getting it in the nickel.
Dollars,
Come on.
150 something dollars a coin. I got 20 coins when I first got in. It was brutal. Mystery
Right.
loves company. We rode that train down. But
And
like you said, KK, like you said, listen, this is the resurrection. This is the redemption story. This is the greatest comeback in the history of crypto, in my opinion. And we are going to take Drip to all new levels. This community has just rose from the ashes. And there's so much going on. And we're going to touch on that in a few minutes. But damn, I'm fired up about Drip.
I can't tell, Rick. I don't hear any passion in your voice at all.
Where's that enthusiasm, man? Let's go.
Right. What are we talking about?
Let's get into our favorite saying in the Drip ecosystem. What about Drip? Let's get into it. What about Drip?
What about Drip? What do we have going on for Drip?
Yeah,
Dun 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 dun, dun Drip X.
first up, like the biggest, I would have to say, the biggest update that we're all waiting for is the launch date for DripX. Hustleman Matt has been teasing and mentioning in the DripX chat, and he's, I've been bugging him in direct messages as well. That's a unique talent of mine. It's a blessing and a curse, but um, he's he's ready to release a launch date later this week, and I believe like it's going to create such a buzz. When you tag team DripX with what we'll be talking about in a few minutes, gas pump, whew, things are just going to be lighting on fire in Drip.
Now, this is what I actually like about the fact that it's coming from, Eric and Hustleman Matt, is that they've had previous projects that have done extremely well. So
Yes.
they've built a brand for themselves in the space. They've got a really solid reputation. The protocols have been safe, really easy to interact with. So they're really leveling up every time they launch a product. And the fact that they are still continuing to pour back into the drip ecosystem speaks to the type of commitment that they have and the passion to be like thought leaders in the space. And the good news is we're going to help them navigate through these DeFi treacherous waters with this massive community that we have. So it's really a great partnership because they've got a baked in community that's super solid and massive. And then we're leveraging their experience in terms of deving to really be, you know, to create something massive with DripX. So I'm excited as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that their project is probably the most successful drip project to date. They did a
With
really
kitchen
good
sink,
job with that.
yeah. With kitchen sink, well, even over on the Pulse side, they've listen. Other than our boy G Money, they are the developers I trust the most, and the products they keep putting out, what's coming out, their vision. Like, how can you not get excited about what's happening?
Yeah, I agree. And they're leveraging the right people in the community too. Like, think about the steps that they took to really be inclusive with the Telegram. Like, all of the top influencers are part of that community now. Whereas before, there was a little gatekeeping going on. And they've also turned the page on that and said, look, man, I think we're all headed in the same direction. We're just using different instruments and we're not marching to the same beat. So how about we put all that stuff aside and get on the same page and build something massive? So that's what they're doing.
Like they say, new year, new me. Well, we had a new year, new community pop up in that DripX chat.
Yep.
And like you just said, you're bringing all these different personalities together. Where previously in 2023, there was a lot of headbutting, a lot of fighting, a lot of name calling and stuff. And now we have an opportunity to put all that behind us and really focus on what we all are hoping for and want to see, and that is Drip get back to all-time highs.
Cool. All right, DripX. Anything else we want to cover on DripX? Because we can go on for minutes on DripX.
No, I
Launch
think
date at the end of the week, right?
yeah,
Did we say that?
No.
that was
Did
the
we?
latest word is launch date
Yeah.
at the end of the week. So we'll see.
That would be phenomenal news. That's the good news that people are looking for. We
Load up
deserve
on that wrap drip. Load
it.
up.
Yeah. Hold up. All right. What else do we have? We've got, what about Drip? The OG faucet. It's officially ended. You can no longer compound. You really only have a couple of options, ladies and gentlemen. Your first option is, I'm hoping for those of you who've been away for some time, you've still been earning drip, right? So when you go back and tap into the drip community UI, you'll probably be sitting with some available drip tokens, right? And you're going to be asking yourself, what should you do with those OG drip tokens? And we're probably going to get into some specifics, but really quickly, you can either hold it, sell it, or swap it. That's a hint to something else to come. But good news, if you've been away, it's still working. You just haven't been able to compound your 1% per day. You'll just be able to use the claim button here and claim whatever's sitting and available. All right. But the good news is there's more stuff to come, and we'll get into that later in the show.
I mean, Double K, you forgot one thing. They have one other option, and that is to send their OG drip to Uncle Rick. I mean, let's just put it out
there. That's always an option too.
That's
right.
an option.
That's always an option too. Good point. How would I forget that? That's just crazy. Yeah. All right. So that's OG Drip. The faucet has been officially terminated. More to come. Let's see what else we got going on here. What about Drip?
Wrapping it. We're going to wrap it.
Here's an option for you. Mike, did you want to share what they could do with their OG Drip?
That very classic, good-looking piece of swap software right there is the AI Drip aggregator, and that's where you can go to get the best prices on your swaps from. You can either buy it with BNB, swap to wDrip. You can use your drip and wrap it. You can do all sorts of stuff on there, and then it automatically searches for the best fees for you. And of course, this also supports the AI Drip team, so we want to give them a little thanks by using this. I haven't actually used it yet, but I know some other users have, and they've had a great experience with it. And I like the way it looks. It's a good style to it.
Oh, I've used it many times. It's quick. It's easy to use. There's no lags. There's no issues or anything like that. Like, I get exactly what I want, and that's my wrap drip. And as everybody knows, I want all the wrap drip. So this is my handy dandy tool right here.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is where you come to purchase, swap out to get your wrap drip. What else do we have going on here? Here's what's funny is this is the first time that I realized that you could go to Dune's analytics to get this data. I've kind of taken the lazy approach, which is just to go into TG and just wait for someone to post it.
Yes.
You're not even part of the bot. You're not subscribed to the bot.
I probably was, but like we talked about before, I've only got like maybe 80 different Telegram groups, and it's probably somewhere at the very,
There's
very
too
bottom.
much traffic going on there.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're not on your superstar level yet, but when we get there, we're going to get up to 80 Telegram. Well, man.
No, but this is good news, right? Those arrows,
that
look at those.
minting.
What's happening? We gotta tell the story, right? Right here at about the 19th of January. What does that number say?
2 million.
2,244,919. That was just a short 11 days ago, right? And now we're at 283,788. What the heck is going on?
It's going the right direction. I'll say that.
What's happening? Is the tax vault being filled? Or people claiming and that 10% tax is going to the tax vault? Or people wrapping that drip and that 10% tax is going to the tax vault?
I think it's a combination of a lot of what you just mentioned. I mean, the great thing is, you know, everybody was trying to focus on January 19th because that was supposed to be the 100-day mark. But a lot of us were saying, and we knew that there was still going to be some minting afterwards because, let's face it, people checked out of drip for a while. And so when they don't come back for months and then they come in and see, you know, it's the end of January and they still have to claim and get their drip and stuff, we're still going to have some minting for a while. But with these apps coming out, with these utilities coming out, like, we are going to chew up the supply. That tax vault is going to be nice and juicy. And you know what? It all starts today when we get into this a little bit more, when we bring G Money in, because I'm telling you, this is the first big step in terms of practical application since wrap drip. And it's just going to be lights out from here. Like, I don't understand how anybody cannot be fired up for this.
Yep. No more free drip. If you want drip, you got to buy it.
Absolutely. And the price has been appreciating. Looks like about anywhere between like 3 to 8% for the last couple of days or so, both on the OG drip and the wrap drip. It's been nice to see. All
Yeah, that
right.
wrap drip supply is always going to be lower than OG drip, so it's got a little more spring in its step when it comes to price appreciation.
Surprise.
Hey, listen, it's a journey for us all. You know,
Oh,
we're all at different steps in this drip journey, but you know, we've come together to try and make this the best community in the history of DeFi. We're going to take that mantle once again, and part of becoming the best community is not only building for the community and supporting each other, but it's also trying to do our best to educate those who are still learning about this space and our precious, precious drip.
well said. I love it. So look, man, we've got somebody sitting backstage who probably is chomping at the bit to get on to talk to us. No, that sounds, we probably want to talk to him. Should we let him in at some point, you think?
Might be
You
a
know
good
what?
idea.
Okay. Let's let him in.
Let's bring the man, the myth, the legend into the studio.
All right. Special guest today, the developer of Gas Pump Games. You love
Yo,
him. He's a master communicator, probably the best in our community. He goes by the letter G and a dollar sign, aka G Money. Welcome, my friend.
yo, how's it going, guys?
G man,
Welcome,
we are happy
welcome.
to have you here, dude.
The banter so far has been spot on.
Right on. Love
We're
it.
just getting warmed up, man. You're
I can
now that
tell.
you're in this room now. Whoo, it's gonna pick up another level.
This background feels like in between two ferns, which I also very much enjoy.
Oh, what a great show.
Excellent.
Now, G Money, this is such a random question, my friend. What's up with the image of
Of Garth.
yeah.
Yeah, so the name G Money was a childhood nickname that I received. And so I kind of looked back into that moment in my life and I realized I was obsessed with Wayne's World. So the avatar sort of paired with the name, and thus you have my online identity.
I love it, my friend. A
Wow, so
classic.
G Money was a childhood name. I mean, talk about foreshadowing there.
Oh, I
You,
know.
you definitely stepped into that one nicely.
It didn't serve me so well as a kid, but as an adult, I've learned to embrace it.
Well, I like it. I think it's dope. So let's do this because we've kind of gotten into somewhat of your childhood background. We understand what's one of your favorite movies. Tell us a little bit, right? Tell
You
us a
know
little bit
everything.
about your crypto experience. I guess some people may want to know about that stuff since we're talking about finances and crypto. What's
Yeah.
yours been like? Yeah.
Well, I very much appreciated hearing everyone's drip story. I, like Uncle Rick, have mostly seen it just go down, which I do think also speaks to our loyalty, right? Getting this excited about a community and a project that has that track record, even if you're just zooming in for a year or a couple months, does say a lot. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I got into drip. I was randomly in a hot tub with my fiance, and another couple joined, and the guy was mentioning crypto, and I basically said like, oh, I'm a software developer that's kind of dabbled in investing, but what projects are you in? And that's when he mentioned drip and also Forex. And so I
Mm.
jumped on the Telegram that night, kind of looked around. I had literally not really used decentralized applications yet, so I logged into the drip site, and because my wallet wasn't connected, everything zeroed out, and I was like, oh, it's not even a thing. And then finally figured out how to use Web3 and was like, oh, okay, like this is pretty interesting. I think the mechanics of the faucet were amazing, right? You put $100 in and you start to see, oh wow, if I just keep DCAing and compounding, like this is going to retire me. So it was a really
Absolutely.
ingenious game. I still think it could. But that was kind of my story. And then in terms of actually getting into the development, sitting there as an investor for about a year and a half, started to notice a real need in the community, especially on the sort of product side of things, in finding someone that could really like bring Forex's visions to reality. And I was unsure if I would be able to really meet that standard, but knew I could at least give it a try. And had had some stake in the game too, right? Like wanting to learn a whole new kind of development infrastructure, understanding blockchain better. So it's kind of a, get paid to learn situation. And I took it
Yeah,
on, and yeah, it's been a ride ever since.
got it. So what's it like working with Forex Shark?
The age old question.
Yeah,
All in all, it's a very positive experience. I mean, he's a very, very intelligent person, as we all know.
yeah.
I've learned a ton from him about integrity, about security. He is without question the most thorough person I've ever met and or
Mm,
worked with. We were literally testing DDD in a sense that we were, pushing time to 2030, flash loading ourselves, trying to come up with everything under the sun to break this thing, referring 1 million people versus one, all these types of things. And it was literally weeks and weeks of this. And even though there was some frustrating moments, I would say 80 to 90% of the time we ended up uncovering a small issue in the code or an assumption we were making that wasn't actually valid. And so it was really, all in all, a great learning lesson for me. I tend to come at things with a mindset of let's move quickly. Let's, try to get to a proof of concept as fast as possible. So us working together, we really kind of compromised and met each other halfway. But the other side of that is a huge commitment, right? Absolutely massive. I think our longest voice chat was 11 and a half hours.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I've
And-
never even talked to a woman that long.
And
Was it just you on Forex, or was it a collection of a group of people?
a small collection.
Okay.
We had Sasha was kind of our right hand man. Definitely our go to guy when we were struggling with anything. So people would pop in and out, but yeah, I mean, it was usually me running the code, screen sharing, and us just kind of talking through things. But yeah, I mean, like I said, right, I was getting paid to learn. Obviously, I was an investor as well, so there was a ton of upside. And so it was a ton of commitment, but it was also a really up leveling moment in my
Yeah.
career, and kind of knew it was one of those right places at the right time type of situations.
Yeah, see, and I'm just gonna ask you one because this typically happens when you actually interview someone. You say something and it just forces you to kind of think through a scenario. Like, what's a fair balance between someone who's really looking to identify any vulnerability in a smart contract, and then trying to find a balance between, okay, we've checked maybe 90% of it, and let's just get it out there and have people test it live, maybe even release it. And then as we uncover things, then we fix it. Because I don't know if you will ever find 100% of any vulnerabilities prior to releasing it. So, how do you find a balance?
This is a fantastic question. And even the more I've looked into smart contract auditing, the more I've realized like this whole conversation is a spectrum, right? It's not like the contract is unsecure or secure. And it's not like another human looking at your contract and saying it's audited makes it perfect, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's a great question. And I would say, you know, with Forex as a sort of example, there was no balance. The balance was when he ran out of ideas on how to break this thing, we were done.
Got it.
Uh, so obviously, to him, I'm sure there's things he's overlooking as well. But he's had years of experience in the space over me. I may be a more hands-on developer, but obviously bowed to him in most regards, as this was my first in a lot of ways. That being said, there are various ways to attack this. I would say, first off, a developer never thinks only 90% of their code is tested. We always think 100% is tested, and we always think there are no bugs.
Okay.
Yeah, finding bugs is always a moment of surprise. It's rarely, aha, I knew this was here.
Yeah. Good
And
point.
so, yeah, I operate like that right now with gas pump, for instance. There are moments in the code that I know could be more defensible, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's exploitable or vulnerable. It's just that whether it's like to improve a UX experience or you know protect against, maybe some unfair outcome. Like a good example in gas pump, just real quick, is like price quoting. So we quote exactly correct down to the way. But if you quote and you buy and the price moves one way, you might get gypped what looks like $1, right? And so the code is essentially perfect, and that's actually the issue.
Okay,
And so
gotcha.
we add buffers to kind of attempt to mitigate this and prevent this. But I just bring this up as an example of like, that's like in software, that's what we mean with like something is exploitable or wrong. It's like the
Yeah.
code could be literally perfect, and still, so you've overlooked something in terms of how the products should function. So
So it could be too perfect, is what you're saying.
it can be too perfect. Yeah, it's very challenging to create something that just automates everything and have it be just, working perfectly and no complaints, right? Because you're literally setting up rules of how everything should go, and to orchestrate all that does take a lot of thought. The last thing to your question, I'm only harping on it because it's a really great one that should be asked more frequently. There's also like levels of severity, right? So like I tend to build things on proxies, which allows you to update certain logic in the contract. You cannot change state, but you could change, for instance, if we needed a function to, expose a certain behavior. Let's say the jackpots weren't getting accurately recorded, and we wanted to keep track of which rounds had jackpots in them. That is the type of logic we could upgrade on a proxy contract. So that's one way around it, is to kind of have some ways to change post-launch. The other is a massive distinction between front end and back end work. Obviously, I want the UI to be as good as it can be at launch, but it is absolutely inevitable. Like over time, you'll want to change front ends, and companies even do it when there's nothing wrong, right? You look at
Yeah.
Facebook and Google and all these places, like they rebrand, and it's just second nature to want to change software over time. So that's just kind of a given for me. But like I said, there's a standard I want to meet with the front end. But with the back end, yeah, that's where you put most of your attention. That's where all the security is. So we spend honestly 90% ish of the attention on the contract code. But yeah, it's constantly a learning process. I could get very, very deep into this. There are every time in Web3 and software development in general, every time an improvement is made, there is also someone that attempts to hack said improvement. And the cycle literally just continues for eternity.
Yeah.
So right now I have best practices in my head on what to do in what scenarios. And in a year, those will be stale, and there'll be some new exploit. So it is an
Mm,
ongoing thing. There's never 100% certainty ever, but we
yeah.
just do our best to show that we tried as much as we could to flex it.
Yeah, that's good information, and I appreciate the insight there too. There's always learnings from your traditional role, kind of managing maybe corporate clients, and then there's a way to do business in the DeFi space. So one of your examples was Forex Shark maybe had a bit more experience, perhaps in crypto than you did at that time. So there were some learnings. You know what? So let me just get to it. So here's what I was going to ask, because it was really a question around triple D, and you've probably answered that question quite a bit, maybe right around what you've learned while working on triple D. I was going to reframe it and maybe think about what's been the biggest aha from a traditional sense and then operating in the crypto DeFi space.
Hmm. That is very loaded. I would say the aha moment is really realizing the capacity of what blockchain can bring
Got it.
in terms of creating things.
Yeah.
I've always loved to build. I was into Legos and Connects, and then literally became an architect. And so, I'm always kind of looking for that sweet spot of like, where's the most leverage? And I frankly left architecture because there wasn't enough leverage. We spent 3 years to build one building. You were kind of lucky if you saw it all the way through.
Mm.
People walk around New York City having never noticed what color a building is. And so there's a very interesting like dynamic there. And so with Web3, kind of having DDD be my just entry point, essentially. Kind of going from inception to launch, while it was painful in a lot of ways, getting to launch and watching, 70K go through the first 4 hours was eye-opening. And to kind of see what happens at scale if the infrastructure is built correctly was really fascinating. Another thing with DDD that was sort of obvious to me and maybe not to everyone else was it was fucking complicated. Like we had literally like 20 plus contracts that we had built, whether it be a TWAP, some sort of price aggregator, some oracle that told the faucet to do some action. It was crazy, and we had to test all these things both independently and integrated. So it was clear to me that there's like all this potential. You could do all these crazy things, and yet it also didn't have to be so insane, right? And so that was kind of the aha moment, was connecting those dots and realizing like, community plus decentralized products plus this sort of like really elegant way to move value around. All was really captivating.
Right on. I appreciate it, man. Good stuff.
Tag me in, Double K. I'm ready. Tag me in.
You are it, Uncle Rick.
G, what up, man? Okay, so listen. Now, I can think back, I don't know, about a month ago. I'm not going to give specific dates or specific details on our conversations, but I can think back about a month ago or so, and somebody just, I don't know, just kept saying to G, come on, man, we got to do wDrip, got to do wDrip, got to do wDrip. And then all of a sudden, when that light bulb clicked and went on, when G's head, everything just was like, it was like meant to be. So my question
was a come
here
to
is
Jesus
this.
moment.
Yes. My question is this. In that moment where it all just started lining up in your head, how you wanted to do this for drip, wDrip and stuff, what were your thoughts about how you can help drip and why you kind of created Gas Pump to do that? Like, what was your thought process behind that?
First of all, yes, you were the inception giver.
Credit officially given.
Yes!
Let it be known.
Give me my flowers.
So it's interesting. I think sometimes the brain kind of like operates subconsciously, where you're kind of like figuring things out just by exposure and not by actually thinking about them. It's just kind of like taking in your environment. But what happened was, so I had built this sort of brand, Gas Pump, around this idea that yes, you could have like a gaming suite that's more agnostic to any community. It's just more like gas tokens on many different chains, and you could just have this really elegant experience where I can go cross chain or cross token and just play like some fun typical crypto games. And then so that was kind of evolving. And then I was obviously reflecting on my DDD experience. I had dozens and dozens of conversations with many of the members of the community about DDD, what went well, what could have gone better. And it was just impossible to ignore that there were obvious improvements that I wanted to kind of see play out. And so I was building the station, is what I was calling it, for BNB on BSC. And the idea was the market is massive. Obviously, everyone uses BNB. It's literally how you operate a blockchain as a user. And so there's just inherent value there. And so that was happening. And Uncle Rick incessantly was both emphatically being enthusiastic about wDrip in general, and then also enthusiastic about Gas Pump just becoming, wDrip focused. That was sort of evolving, and I pushed it off originally because I was like, no, I mean, the brand is Gas Pump. The whole idea is like, cross-chain native tokens. And then I think with enough exposure of just, community members building other products, Uncle Rick not shutting up, other things, I realized that perhaps like building just on BNB was too wide of a market. And it actually made sense to build for a much smaller community with a much more, targeted use case, and then slowly expand and use that as sort of a marketing strategy to both bring more people into Drip, which is obviously great, and then also, build products for wider markets than drip, which for me is also enticing. So that kind of was brewing, and I realized, I already have trust in the community. I already have familiarity with drip. I've spoken to some of the other developers as well. It just kind of made sense. And it was also kind of my opportunity to take every possible learning I had from DDD and just rebake it into a new product. And so ever since that kind of clicked, it's been off to the races. I think we've been at it for maybe 2 or 3 weeks is what it took to kind of pivot this thing. And yeah, it's been fun.
It's been very exciting to see the path that Gas Pump is on now, and the release and everything that's just gonna, in my opinion, be great for drip and wrap drip, of course. I'll tag Mike in so he can get into a little bit more of the details. But you know what, G, we love you, man. We appreciate you giving us our flowers, man. Thank you.
It's fun for me too. As much as I love you guys, it's not completely selfless work.
Not at all.
Man.
I think from the start of the interview, we've all got skin in the game, so it's really important to all of us at this point. Yeah, it really is. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So I just want to ask you, just so people who don't quite know what Gas Pump is, maybe this is the first time they're hearing about it. Can you explain a little bit of what Gas Pump is and how it works?
Yes. So I'll go through like a couple of levels of detail. So the highest level of detail is it's a balance-based raffle that triggers when the prize pool reaches a certain amount. There's also a rolling jackpot. So when the station is full, it pays out. 80% goes to prizes and 20% goes to the jackpot. And the idea here is that you kind of get the best of both worlds. You both get guaranteed prizes. So if you know that the pump limit is 1,000 and you put in $100, you can basically, say to yourself, I have a 10% chance of winning either the first prize, the second prize, or potentially the most prize, which is whoever has the most pumps on any given round. So that's kind of the high level of how it functions as a game. If you go one level deeper, there's a couple interesting mechanics. One is that it accepts 3 entry tokens. So you can play with BNB, wrap, drip, or drip. One thing that's interesting and is a departure from DDD is in DDD, which was the previous product I worked on that was a time-based raffle, there was a 10% bonus on entering with fresh capital. And this worked because the other entry token was drip. And if you wanted to, swap to get that 10% bonus, you'd be hit with a 10% tax on your drip, and the swap didn't make sense to do. And so that was kind of the mechanic. And we pitched that it welcomed fresh capital, but it also, used drip. And in this game, what's different is that you don't really have that situation. And so we originally thought, let's incentivize B&B coming into the game, but realized it actually made more sense to put a bonus on wrap drip and then a bigger bonus on drip, because this both incentivizes swapping into those tokens beforehand if you wanted to play, but also gives them more utility and more attraction than the fresh capital, which is a really interesting dynamic. So that's kind of level 2. And then level 3 is really that, in the background, we're trying to pump liquidity into wrap drip. We're trying to lock up OG drip through the native transfer tax. And we're trying to add liquidity to this tax-free wrap drip token. And so behind the scenes, the station kind of does all 3 of these things. We've been testing on mainnet the last day. We accidentally put $400 through this thing, which is a pretty good omen as to what's to come. Mm-hmm. And made a lot of wrap drip in the process, right? Like we were just playing a game, having fun, testing. But in the background, we were, sending liquidity to wrap drip, using it. And I think we sent about 700 OG drip through the game. And so I think, all in all, it's kind of this idea that you can create a product that's fun to play, looks beautiful, is kind of just speaks for itself, but also is built on really solid, game theory and mechanics that actually support the thing that it's trying to help through just, very direct and obvious ways. And so that's kind of what this is. I can go more into Gas Pump, but that's the first game.
Awesome, man. I love that incredibly thorough answer, man. That's great. So to cover the bonuses, you mentioned that there are bonuses depending on the token that's used. What has the highest bonus when using gas pump?
So this is a variable thing, and we might adjust this as a community over time. But right now, there's a 20% bonus on drip. There's a 10% bonus on wrap and then there is a flat or 0% bonus on BNB. There's a few reasons for this. In general, you have to keep the bonuses kind of tight, otherwise you incentivize swapping beforehand too much. With drip, there is a native transfer tax when it goes to the game. And then there's also a tax when it gets wrapped into wrap drip, which is what the game pays out. And so this whole 20% tax kind of made sense to also just put a 20% bonus on drip to encourage players to use it. And then with wrap drip, it made sense to give it a little bit extra bonus as to increase its utility. So, you know, if you have BNB in your wallet, and I did this last night actually, but if you have BNB in your wallet and you just wanted to play, you are able to. But you're also incentivized to swap drip or swap wrap drip ahead of time and play with that. And you're potentially also encouraged to swap it into drip and play with that and get the 20% bonus, which would be amazing because you're literally adding BNB, you know, to the drip liquidity, and then you're also locking up drip. You know, it's a great flow.
Genius, man. That is genius.
So that was actually, not to like get too deep into it, but that was one of the many sort of head scratcher moments when analyzing DDD and how it kind of worked. Because it sounds obvious, right? Like, let's put a bonus on fresh capital, like duh. But when you actually look at it in this game, it makes sense to not do that. And the effect is really interesting because I was chucking a ton of my drip through, both for the bonus, but also knowing that, you know, it's locking up supply. So pretty interesting.
Excellent, man. And I know, are we officially launched yet? Or are we doing a sneak attack launch, or what's your thinking?
So there's going to be a stealth launch today in a handful of hours. And I'm just gonna drop the URL basically, and people are gonna start playing. Unless there's some black swan event, I plan on using the current contracts that we deployed yesterday. We found no issues in the back end, and so they're still good to go. I also think this makes sense because there's money already in the jackpot, which is probably nice for people. I don't think people will complain about that. So
No.
yeah, it'll launch somewhere on station probably 20-ish. We're at 13 right now, and there's a little more testing I want to do. But yeah, we're already live. Yeah, it's been a hell of a day, but we got there.
Sweet. Alpha drop right here.
I agree. It's
So,
coming
what do you
sometime today. Wow. This is
Yep.
great news. This is great news.
Yep. So what do you think, Jimmy? What's the future of gas pump? Do you see this evolving into something else, or do you see yourself kind of just using the knowledge that you've gained by building gas pump to build something totally different? Can you give us any sneak previews or tips on some games that maybe you have in mind that you're going to be developing?
Yeah, this is definitely like a constantly evolving thing. And I'm kind of just having a bunch of conversations, you know, thinking on my own, talking to friends, things like that. I think the first step is definitely just releasing more stations. I'd like to at least release a station that pays out BNB, and then likely release a few stations that exist on other chains outside of BSC. And that for me would kind of be a good next milestone. So I can claim that Gas Pump is both cross-chain, and then also kind of hint a little bit more at what the product is ultimately about, which is kind of like a gaming suite where you get to choose how you're paid out. It supports many chains, you know, elegant UI, things like that. I think there's this nice pattern though of when a new game comes out, it's built for a very targeted audience.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm going to keep that pattern for sure. And it's also nice, you know, you kind of keep hype relatively high if you're constantly releasing new versions of a game, and then also on the sort of medium timeline, you're also releasing new games. So that's kind of the cadence I want to follow. In terms of what's next, I definitely have things on the radar. I'm building, I guess I'm just going to say it. I'm building a wrap drip version of Plinko for the Drip Warriors DAO.
Yes.
Ooh,
So
Plinko.
Let's go.
That's going to be
Alrighty.
sick. We're still
Yes.
finalizing some details on that, but I think essentially, there'll be contracts, and then I'll feature the game on Gas Pump, and then we'll also feature it on the Drip Warriors site. So kind of two places to access the game, but one kind of contract. And then, yeah, same thing, right? Releasing Plinko on more tokens, more chains. And then in terms of the third game and kind of where this is going, that's where it kind of gets fuzzy. I want to do a ton of research on like even different types of games. You're somewhat limited by blockchain. I think what's interesting is that because of the limits on blockchain, people tend to innovate a lot more. So they look at the constraints and they say, how do we work with these to kind of do really interesting things? And so, that's definitely a high level thesis of what I want to do, is kind of challenge what's possible in the Web3 environment, and what types of experiences you can have.
Fantastic, man. I mean, every single word out of your mouth just got me more and more excited for what we've got coming on in the future, man. That is amazing.
Like
Yeah,
the one
that was
thing that
pretty
got me
cool.
most excited is the game's coming out sometime today. Are you serious? And we're hearing it here first. Life is good. Life is good. All right, G Money, was there anything else that perhaps we didn't cover that you wanted to share with your listeners or your community?
No, I definitely thank you guys for the opportunity. I would say the banter about Drip in the beginning also got me super hyped. I think, it says a lot. There's all these people still in the community, still talking about the project's mechanics. We were able to kind of pivot in a really critical moment. I think that was both a pivot and a handoff. So it went from a more centralized community project to a much more decentralized community project. And so, yeah, it's definitely the second dawn. I am going nowhere, and also keen on just like getting in other communities too. So I'm sure there's a lot of great minds out there that we can both learn from and probably cross-pollinate with their market. So really looking to kind of usher in that for Drip with Gas Pump, and then, yeah, happy to also talk about anyone else's ideas.
I got
Except
ideas.
except Uncle Rick's on the blacklist for like a month.
Oh, damn.
Well, G Money, man, we definitely appreciate your time. Obviously, with your release looming, you probably got some last minute things you need to tighten up on. So we'll let you get back to that. But we definitely appreciate your time. And if you're open to it, love to have you back to maybe talk about how things are going post launch. That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Mid February sounds great.
Fantastic. G Money, we appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, G Money.
Thank you,
Round of
G.
applause, bro. Thank you.
It seems like life is about to be different for all of those people who were committed to the Drip ecosystem. And even for those who are completely unaware of it, they're actually about to find out how bullish this ecosystem is. And what's really incredible about it, not that I've been around the space for a very long time, but 2 years in crypto feels more like 20, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
so here's what I'm saying is that I'm unaware of many communities that experience the roller coaster ride of emotions and financial impact that we have, and have just said, you know what, let's put that behind us and let's kind of rally together and build something really sustainable for this token. And then let's not just stop there, but let's expand on it and create something new, aka wrap drip, that allows us to become cross chain. Like, how often does that happen? Like, I'm unaware of it. How about you guys? Have you guys had any experience, examples of that happening in crypto?
I haven't seen that in any other community, really. The one thing that I've really noticed about the Drip community in particular is that investors tend to turn into developers, just in this community more than others. I mean, myself included, but I've also noticed just other people who just really love the Drip token just feel this, this call to them to go ahead and develop, which is, I know the situation for Matt, who's behind Kitchen Sink and going in now to into Drip X, and I know some other community members that have really felt the call to develop for Drip more than any other community. I don't know if Safe Moon or Pepe, the Pepe coin or whatever that is. I don't see anybody developing for those things. It's really the Drip community. There's something special about the hearts and souls of the members of the Drip community that I think is really inspirational. So, I mean, that just gets me really excited for the future even more so.
Well, cool. Let's do this then. So we want to go ahead and jump right into our shout outs.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, definitely Drip Warriors developing that community was, I think, a really pivotal time in Drip's history, and getting that group together and developing our strategies that we had, our daily strategies, in order to benefit the Drip community as well as support the various parts of the ecosystem. That really taught me a lot about the ecosystem, and I think Ants Girl was really just a great member to have in that group. Bouncing ideas off of her and her experience really got our own minds going and really gave us an education on the basics of how Drip initially works. So I definitely want to give a shout out to her.
Definitely, she's a resource. Cool lady. And, they had a good laugh at my expense when I asked her about her name, Ants Girl. Why not like Ladybug or something like that? So Uncle Rick ain't afraid of making a fool of himself.
No, that's quite all right. You got to ask the tough questions sometimes.
Yes.
Tough questions. I was going to call it the other thing, but that's a horrible adjective. You got to ask the tough questions sometimes. I agree. Shout out to Ants Girl, community member of the week. We also have another one. Let's see who this one is. Emmett G. Now I'm going to shout out Emmett. Emmett
Well
is
deserved.
a huge advocate for this space. Like I've gotten to know Emmett personally, meaning we talk offline just about everything outside of cryptocurrency. But what I really appreciate about Emmett is his commitment and loyalty to the community. Not so much the tokens in itself, because that goes without saying. Like he's committed to seeing it all the way through with the Drip token, the pigs, and the dogs. It's because he's got this deep desire and trust in the dev and the community. But he's a massive supporter of people doing the right things for the space and for the community. So anytime you're posting anything, Emmett's going to leave a comment. He's going to share it. Emmett's also going to take the time in, I don't know, probably a half a dozen, if not more, Telegram groups and volunteer as an admin to help people further understand how things work, strategies to use. He's actually sharing Medium articles. Like he's a great resource and ambassador for the space. And I'm happy to call him a friend. So shout out to Emmett G for being a great ambassador for our community.
Yep, 100%.
Good job, Emmett.
We've got one more person we want to shout out this week. Uncle Rick, who you got?
Man, we got to go with the big dog. Yes, we're going with Bartertown Ray. And now listen, Ray gets his props. He gets his shout outs here and there. But Ray played a pivotal part in inspiring us to form the Drip Warriors. But not only that, and we've talked about this off camera, like when Drip was heading to its darkest moments, the lights seemed dim, the price was plummeting, people were screaming, crying, jumping off buildings. Like it was just crazy, right? One man just kept staying in the fight. He kept rallying the troops. When we had DD come out, he rallied the troops with his donating to the pot and push the pot and stuff. And then in the dark moments, he stood tall. He did not waver in his confidence and belief in Drip. And you know what, man, when you have somebody that's willing to step up and be a leader like that, it makes it easy to follow someone's lead. And so my shout out is to Ray, man, homie, big dog. like I give you all the props for just keeping the fight going when a lot of people, threw in the towel.
Remaining steadfast, definitely a drip warrior characteristic right there.
So shout out to Ants Girl, Emmett, and Bartertown Ray for being leaders in this space. Right on. Mike, the Crypto Cuban's going to help us go through what are the drip warriors? And what's the DAO? And what can you expect from us?
Yeah, so Drip Warriors, like I mentioned earlier, just a group that really came together. Their main cause was to save Drip, and the way we were going to save Drip is by using the ecosystem as it was intended. So the our initial plans were to pump the reservoir and then clean up supply going into DDD. And it was a strategy that I'm very happy to say it worked. Once the first time we did it, and we actually saw that we won most of the prizes in DDD, and then we sent that straight to the tax vault. That was kind of an awakening moment there where we discovered, okay, we can actually make a difference here. And then once we started pumping that reservoir and giving the price a little bit more stability, it just furthered that characteristic that we knew that we had the power there. We could make a difference. So from that Drip Warriors main group, then we've kind of branched off into the DAO, which is really just the absolute most diehard drip warriors who really wanted to make a difference, not only out in the community, but also financially. So the DAO is committed to funding the development of multiple drip related platforms that are going to give lots of fun utility to drip, lots of use cases. And of course, in that, we're hoping that that's going to pump the price. So that's the main idea behind the Drip Warriors and the DAO. And our DAO has gotten pretty popular, and the Drip Warriors group was so popular, in fact, that Forex decided to join after a few months of us kind of just chattering back with each other. Forex decided to jump on in there because he saw that the heart of the drip community was very involved, and they were drip warriors.
So Forex Shark is a
So
drip warrior?
Well,
yeah,
he
he's in
was.
there.
He
Ouch.
was. Mike, I mean, excellent summary of our group and stuff, but I can't let this episode wind down, wrap up without just taking a little bit of a step back prior to us even figuring out the plans that we wanted to come up with. Like that first day or two when, and this goes back to my shout out to Ray, like how I said, he kind of motivated us to get this group going, because he kept saying community's got to step up, community's got to step up, this is a community project. And never did I realize how much that meant until some of us was just like, we got to do something about it, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you got 5 people saying we got to do something, now you got 10 people saying we got to do something, and then we're like, well, we got to start a group, right? So I wanted to talk about that, like first day or two where emotions are high and the excitement of people join and just coming in, like people we didn't even know who they were in the regular drip chat, but just like people just wanting to save drip and fight for drip. So I know for me personally, I was so fired up, and I've told you guys this many times. Like I was ready for war. I was ready to fight anybody who was fudding drip. I didn't care who it was. Like in the chats, I was calling them cupcakes and mental midgets and all this stuff. Like I was not nice. And new year, new me. I'm trying to be a little
Yeah.
bit nicer. I'm trying to have a little more patience dealing with these people when they still come in and want to say something negative about drip. But I was so fired up. I was ready to run through a brick wall. I would have started like 20 different groups if I could have, to just get this going and stuff. And it was our fellow members Galactic and Clax who got the group started, and then it was like the floodgates open. So just a little bit right there, Mike, like tell me what you were thinking. Share with us kind of your thoughts on those first few moments when it was just like, that's it, we're going to war.
Well, once I think every one of us who were in the Drip Warriors really had the same idea, just like you mentioned. Like we just wanted to start a group, and we wanted to be really exclusive with who we had in, because we wanted to make sure that the people who were in this group really were dead set on really saving drip. That was it. We get some flack because of our exclusivity, but in reality, I feel like that's been our greatest weapon because of the amount of brainstorming and really just good positive energy that we've been able to maintain in the group. I mean, we have a lot of really good energy, a lot of very smart people, a lot of people who aren't afraid to tell you the truth in a nice way and help you get through it, help you work on it, help to change a strategy and really put forth a great effort into all of our actions that we had put together originally. But getting that first initial group started was a mission, just because there was so much that we had to think of when thinking of what makes a drip warrior. We didn't want it to be just a regular drip group where just everybody was invited, and then you've got the fudders, and then you got the people who deliberately go in and cause a ruckus just to get thrown out. Then they go back to their own Telegram group to brag about how they got thrown out. That's really not what we're about. We wanted to kind of tune out that noise. We wanted to bring in the true drip warriors. We wanted to weed these out of the drip community. And I think we did a great job of getting all of these people together in one group in order for the greater good of drip. And it's been a really exciting journey ever since then. And I think it's really evolved into an exciting kind of brainstorming group where you can get honest feedback and great positive energy into furthering developments, into improving developments, and to coming up with other strategies that will help drip grow. Within this group is really where I got the inspiration to create the concepts for the drip marble run, which I'm really excited to bring to the community. Galactic and I are partners in that, and we've got a lot of things going for that. I really cannot wait until I have some the next updates that we get on that, so I can share that with the community. But we have a lot of things coming, and like I mentioned, in the DAO, we have development right now of 5 different platforms that are going to be all drip related. They're all going to give a utility to drip. They're all going to benefit the ecosystem, and better yet, they're going to empower us to go ahead and create more platforms for drip. So, I mean, this is just the beginning, man. This is really just the beginning. We've just gotten started, and we are, as KK says, we're cooking with grease now.
Hey, cooking with grease. I'm excited.
Yeah, alone, if you're alone, you're fighting with your hands and your fists, but together, fighting with an army with swords and shields, victory is ours.
Hey,
Preach it.
well said.
Preach it. Skin in the game. I got my whole damn body in the game. Like, I love this drip. And, I love the rap drip now even more. And like you guys both said, there are so many positives about the group that we put together and the future that we have outlined that we're going to try and accomplish what we want to build for this ecosystem and stuff. And not only that, but to support the other developers, like support Matt and definitely G and, and Quinn and them over at AI Drip / Rap Drip and stuff. And, you got other projects that are still, baking right now, cooking and supposedly coming out. We still got people we know over at Drip 21, the Drip Poker, and these other things that, bottom line, my head's going to explode because this future for Drip has never been brighter.
Word.
Boom. Yep. Boom. On that note, this is our first maiden voyage. There's obviously going to be plenty more to come. But shouts out to the community for listening and G Money for spending time with us to help us further understand the benefits associated with gas pump and how it impacts drip. Just know that the drip warriors are here in crypto to help you navigate these waters and fight through and overcome trade finance. Crypto is the future, and drip warriors are here to stay. Peace out.